Well, it is a bright and early morning. I'm here at the Lake Garnett Grand Prix. What you just saw was Saturday's events. I just kind of familiarized myself with everything, went and saw the car show. It was some pretty neat stuff there, including an actual legitimate AC Cobra, which I've never even seen pictures of online before, much less seen one in real life. So that was super cool. But today I'm actually going to finally do race car things with my race car. I've been owning Miatas for the last 5 years, wanting to go to a track, and I never have. And so finally I'm actually doing that. And this is the historic Lake Garnett racetrack. They don't really hold actual races here anymore. I've got the hat and everything. As far as the first track experience goes, this one's a little interesting. There's basically no runoffs to speak of. You go off the track, you're in a ditch or you're in a lake. So a little bit terrifying, frankly, but I think the Miata's set up pretty well, and I think it'll be okay. So the Lake Garnett Grand Prix Revival is a pretty typical track day. You know, there's no wheel-to-wheel or anything. You've got passing zones where you can point by, but there is a 100-mile-an-hour speed limit because this is a pretty sketchy track. You do not want to go off. And then the dam area actually has a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit after a chicane to slow us down. So, you know, you're definitely not 100% 10 tenths the whole way around, but it's it still looks like a pretty fun course. There's some fast sections, and 100-mile-an-hour speed limit seems like plenty, especially in a Miata. All the runs are actually divided into classes that are separated by speed. Mine's the 100-mile-an-hour class. It's the fastest. There's also like 60. There's a 60-mile-an-hour class, 80-mile-an-hour class, and 100-mile-an-hour class, and those are divided up into cars before 1974 and after 1974. So I think this Mazda came out after 74. What's funny is the pre-74 classes are full of a whole bunch of late model Cobra Kit cars, which is, sure, I guess, it looks like a pre-74 car, but that's... those things are all chock full of modern technology. So yeah, 100-mile-an-hour class. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully I don't go too fast. I don't think that's a problem with my whole 170 horsepower, but. So our first run group is done. We just had lunch, and this is the first time I've actually driven this Miata in anger after doing all of the modifications to it, which are Coney, struts, Progress Technology springs, RX-8 yellow dot sway bars, the hollow spoke FD RX-7 wheels, and RE71R tires. And I have no complaints about this car whatsoever. It is absolutely perfect for this style of driving now. I mean, before when it was stock, I took it to Arkansas, to the Ozarks, drove the roads there, and it was so bad. The stock Bilsteins were really harsh over bumps while also being just really boaty. I mean, people obviously make the boat jokes about the NC Miata, but it was bad. It was borderline, it was frustrating for sure. Now, I mean, I have autocrossed it once like this, and I felt like it had a ways to go, but on a track where you're not, you know, slamming from full left and right steering back and forth over and over, it's just perfect. You can flat out just through this area in front of the spectator, just banging through gears, heel towing down to the corners, no worries about traffic or anything. I did hit the 100-mile-an-hour speed limit actually on both the front and back straights. Front straight, just briefly you saw, but then on the back straight, I could pretty much set my cruise control at 100, which is hilarious. And you see I got that one pass against that Porsche 914. The weird part about that all happened the reverse of how I thought it would. I figured that I would annihilate him in the straights and then he'd just walk away from me in the corners, but that thing's quick in a straight line. And then it seemed to struggle a bit in the corners, so I'm not sure what was up with that, but hopefully next time Jay is going to be in his slightly more worked over NC, you know, more suspension, bigger engine, minor stuff. And we'll see if we can duke it out a bit.
view.
Well, it's a weird sort of bummer ending to the day. Very last session, and I got black flagged for some reason. So I come in, talk to the track marshal. I did point someone by in the passing zone. It was in the passing zone. I can show that right now. But honest mistake by me, and I just wasn't paying attention, or others, but I really don't think I ever tried to pass anyone that last session. I was trying to catch that 300 ZX, but it's a very good thing that that happened, because otherwise I might have gotten tangled up in a wreck that happened between a couple of cars. One of them got a point by and went around and was in front, went into a corner, and the car that was behind used to be in front. Their brakes failed, and they plowed into the side, and they just kind of went side to side. Luckily, they didn't go off track in a bad way. There was lots of runoff in that one particular area, but this is a pretty sketchy track, and this hammers home how important it is to make sure your car is prepped. At the very least, tires, pads, fluid. You got to have RBF 550 or better, or you're going to have, brake fade, bubbles, boiling fluid, all that stuff. I mean, I was getting on my brakes pretty hard that second time, and there was no fade whatsoever. And I have driven this car in anger before, and just at autocross I would get brake fade before I had the new fluid in here. So that's, it's a massive difference. Honestly, I don't know what pads are in here, probably junk ones, but the brakes don't leave me wanting a whole lot. They're kind of adequate. I'll probably put some nicer pads on here, something that grabs a bit better, a bit more progressive, but that's just kind of a driver nicety rather than a necessity at this point. What I have is good enough. But for me, at least, I think my first track day was all right. This car left me wanting basically nothing. It handles great. The power is okay. I mean, more than okay in a place with a 100-mile-an-hour speed limit. I can't wait to get on a track that actually has runoffs and actually has unlimited speed, and actually push the car more to its limits, like you can at autocross, without having to worry about falling in a lake. At the most, handling wise, I might upgrade the sway bars. I've got the Yellow Dot RX8 sway bars right now. I might get the Progress Technology sway bars. They are literally twice as stiff, and I just like the feeling. It probably doesn't really do much for me, because these are keeping me off of my bump stops, it feels like, so they're not really going to help me handle better, but it just feels a bit nicer to corner flat. I actually think it's a detriment past a certain point to have way too much sway bar on a car, because then weight transfer doesn't happen right. You can get weird car dynamics. At any rate, I've talked long enough. It's time to drive home. It's definitely dinner time, and I am exhausted. Thanks for watching.